So First Woman, having left the spring area, went to the lake area where Turtle lived. And he had made that beautiful shell covering, on his back and his shoulders from shells that he had broken into pieces and glued together. And also the beautiful mosaic pattern from shells that he had created for his stomach and chest to protect himself, as he had gone to try and find fresh water for the people. And First Woman thought, well, we have lost the water vessel and we can't do that. We can't carry enough water in it in order to be able to put out this widespread fire. She thought maybe Turtle could take some of the lake water inside of the bowl of its shell, and that would work. But Turtle said, I am very, very slow, and I don't think I can carry enough water in my shell to be of any help. I would want to help also, but I don't think it would be very effective. And so we have to come up with some other plan to do this. And so then First Woman says, well, let me go to the swamp and to the marshes and talk to Frog who lives there. Now then Frog, in having gone to get fresh water for the people, had ended up with bulging eyes and crooked legs from carrying the water bottle that First Man had made for them to carry water in. And he was also thought of as a dandy. He lived in the marsh area, and he had this special ability. He had this very porous skin, and it was like a sponge. And he could absorb a tremendous amount of water in this porous area. And then when he wanted to release it, he could squeeze his body and the water would come out. And so he thinks about it, and he thinks, well, maybe I can go. I can absorb, as much water as I can from this pond that I'm in. And he began to do that. And the pond got lower and lower and lower. And Frog became bigger and bigger as he absorbed this water. And so this was going to be the solution, First Woman thought. And then she had to find someone that could carry him. Would have to be a bird, and the bird said, well, we can't carry him. Our claws would break his skin and would hurt him. The water would not be able to be carried to the burning area. And so then First Woman says, well, I'll make him a harness, and then I will have rope attached to the harness, and you will be able to carry him in this harness. And so the bird says, yes, they think that will work. And so different birds were willing to try. Loon tried, but he was unable to lift the heavy load of the frog, and so he couldn't do it. Kingfisher tried, and he had the same problem. He also couldn't lift Frog up, even with the harness. He was too heavy and he couldn't do it. Fishhawk tried, but he had the exact same problem. He fluttered his wings. He tried his very best because everyone wanted to help First Woman. They wanted to help the people. They knew that this was a problem that needed to be addressed and quickly because the fire was approaching the Navajo land and it would create danger for the people. And then White Crane comes forth. And White Crane says, let me try. I am willing, to try and carry Frog. And he's able to do it. And so White Crane flies off to the area with the fire carrying Frog. And so they are, White Crane is flying along, and he goes to Fire Mountain because that's where the problem is coming from, and he thinks that he can put out the fire along the way and put out the fires at Fire Mountain as Frog releases this rain, that might be successful. And White Crane begins to get very tired. And so he tells Frog, you have to release some of your water. And so Frog does. He squeezes his body and he releases a quarter of the water on the east side of the mountain. And then White Crane flies to the south. And Frog squeezes again and releases part of his water on the south side. And then Crane flies over to the western side of Fire Mountain. And again, Frog squeezes part of his load, another quarter of the water he had absorbed into his porous skin. And then White Crane carries Frog to the north. And again, Frog squeezes very, very hard, and he releases the remaining amount of the water that's in his body. And then White Crane and Frog fly back to First Woman. And she is so proud of them. She says, we must find a way to honor you for what you have done for the people. White Crane, you braved flying into the fire, and Frog, you were able to absorb all of that water that was able to put out the fires. And so she says, we will honor you. Frog, no one will disturb you in your marsh area. We will allow you to live there freely. And also, Crane, we will call you the rain bird, and we will use your feathers in our rain ceremonies. And whenever you hear the sound of a frog croaking, it is a very sacred song to the Navajo because it is associated with rain. And so people think if you can catch a frog and keep it in your yard, it will bring rain to your crops. And so now they had put out all of the fires. First Woman was very proud, and she and First Man noticed something, that over Fire Mountain were these clouds. In the east were white clouds and white mist. In the south were yellow clouds and yellow mist. And in the west were blue clouds and blue mist. And in the north were black clouds and black mist. And they thought, what is this? What has happened? What is this that is over Fire Mountain? And First Man said, it's the mist and the rain from having put out the fire, that has surrounded this mountain now with clouds. And those clouds will be able to produce rain wherever they go. And that mist will provide moisture. And so First Woman and First Man say, this is truly amazing. But we have to have a way to not just have this cloud and this mist over the Fire Mountain. We need it for all of Navajo land so that we will be able to have rain and moisture when we grow our crops, because we have dry farming and we are so dependent on rain. We don't have irrigation systems. We have to depend on rain. And so they ask the four winds to help them, to blow these clouds in the different directions over Navajo land so that the people will have rain for their crops. And so the clouds are blown, and First Man and First Woman think we should have a home for them when they are not moving around Navajo land dropping water. And so from then on, over White Shell Mountain in the east, the white cloud and the white mist remained there. In the south, at Abalone Shell Mountain, the yellow cloud and the yellow mist made their home. And over Turquoise Mountain in the west, the blue cloud and the blue mist made their home. And over Obsidian Mountain in the north, the black cloud and the black mist made their home. And this is how the mountains are shown in Navajo sand paintings. This is how the clouds and mists are visualized. And it's very important, for sand paintings that the Navajos be able to go to their traditional sites and collect rock that is of different colors, because they use a natural rock in their sand paintings. They don't dye the sand. They get the rock and they crush it and they filter it into a fine sand, and they use the different colors. And the sand paintings are made during the ceremonies. They aren't made to hang on the wall. They're made within the hogan as the healing ceremony is being conducted. And the sick person sits on the sand painting, the deity that has been created. And it's thought that the healing power of that deity arises and heals that person. And after the ceremony is over, the sand is removed from the hogan and taken to the north.